2014 until now, and then also he's the tracheostomy care management trainer 2017 until now, and he's also the facilitator in the ICU training of Indonesian Critical Care Nurses Association. To Mr. Aid, you have time 20 minutes, and then I will notify you when the time is 5 minutes left. Time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Diaz. Good morning. Okay, Ma'am and Sil, for first of all, I want to say thank you to Smith Medical for this opportunity. Then I can present about tracheostomy since COVID-19. And next, I want to introduce myself. My name is Aib Rukmana. Now I work in intensive care unit for COVID-19, RSPAD Gatot Subroto, Indonesia Army Central Hospital. Okay, about my presentation, the topic in about safety protocol application of tracheostomy in COVID-19 patient. Selamat pagi buat teman-teman semua. Pagi ini kita akan bahas tentang tentang tracheostomy, tentang bagaimana protokol kesehatan, pelaksanaan pada pasien dengan COVID-19 atau corona gitu ya, yang melanda di dunia tentunya ya. Ma'am and Sir, thank you. Next. Outlines 1. One definition of tracheostomy. 2 indication and contraindication of tracheostomy. 3 complication of tracheostomy. 4 timing of tracheostomy. 5 type of tracheostomy. Next, post tracheostomy management. 7 konsep kesimpulan. 8 reference. Definisi tracheostomy. Teman-teman semua sudah semua mengetahui bahwa tracheostomy adalah suatu tindakan pembedahan gitu ya. Ini beberapa jurnal, beberapa pengertian dari Littman tahun 2018 bahwa tindakan tracheostomy merupakan prosedur tindakan manajemen surgery airway pada bagian cervical trachea. Kemudian di Gorge et al. Tahun 2020, tracheostomy is life-saving surgical procedure is patient with severe after airway compromise. Bagaimana tracheostomy itu adalah sebagai life-saving, tindakan operasi life-saving pada pasien yang mengalami kegagalan saluran napas gitu ya. Kemudian menurut Trolley tahun 2018, tracheostomy is a procedure that albeit with great disparity between medical team and treat of frequency and modality. Ini bagian harus ada timnya dan menggunakan prosedur-prosedur yang seharusnya dilakukan oleh tim tersebut. Next. Indication of tracheostomy. 1. Congenital anatomy atau ada kelainan anatomi. 2. Kemudian yang kedua, upper airway foreign body that cannot be dislocated with helminth and base cardiac left support maneuver. Mungkin ada airway yang terganggu yang tidak bisa dilakukan dengan cara manual, harus dengan menggunakan prosedur tracheostomy. Kemudian yang ketiga ada kondisi patologis supraglottis atau glotis. Misalkan pada infection, neoplasma, bilateral focal cord paralysis. Yang keempat, profilaksis. Yang kelimanya indikasi yang kelima itu ada trauma pada leher yang mengakibatkan terjadinya keparahan, harus dilakukan tindakan prosedur tracheostomy. Kemudian yang kedelapan ada kelainan, di bagian parunya mungkin ada sekret yang berlebih ataupun batuk yang tidak adekuat sehingga menyebabkan penumbukan sekret dan bisa terjadi aspirasi sehingga harus dilakukan tindakan tracheostomy. Kontraindikasi, one, koagulasi disorder, mungkin ada perdarahan. Yang kedua, short neck, mungkin leher pendek. Kemudian enlargement of thyroid gland and isthmus. Itu yang ketiga, ada pembesaran kelenjar tiroid. Yang keempat, ketidakmampuan berkembangnya leher. Mungkin ada yang keenam, ada maligna pada pada daerah trakea. Kemudian ada history of cervical spine surgery of tracheostomy. Ada riwayat operasi di daerah cervical atau tindakan tracheostomy. Yang selanjutnya, next, request high ventilation support, fraksi oksigen more than 70% and PIP more than 10. Jadi pada pasien yang menggunakan ventilator dengan fraksi oksigen lebih dari 70% atau dengan PIP lebih dari 10, itu tidak dilakukan tindakan tracheostomy. Komplikasi, bleeding, air emboli, subcutaneous emphysema, tracheal injury, stop breathing and cardiac arrest, pneumotorax, tracheal necrosis, granuloma formation, tracheal and tracheal fistula. Ini semua bisa terjadi pada tindakan tracheostomy. Bisa terjadi perdarahan, emboli paru, atau terjadi cardiac arrest, gagal napas sampai cardiac arrest, terjadi pneumotorax atau tracheal necrosis juga. Itu dari komplikasi tracheostomy. Selanjutnya adalah tracheostomy pada COVID-19. Teman-teman semua memang tindakan tracheostomy ini memang tindakan yang menyebabkan atau mengeluarkan aerosol dari dari dua pendapat Lam tahun 2020 dengan Rovira tahun 2020, semua tindakan tracheostomy itu menyebabkan tindakan yang menyebabkan aerosol. Nah, mungkin terjadi pada tahun 2003 pada saat terjadinya SARS itu semua tindakan tracheostomy menyebabkan terjadi infeksi silang kepada petugas sehingga rawan terjadinya petugas terkena. Kemudian menurut Rovira juga sama, semua tindakan tracheostomy itu menyebabkan tindakan aerosol, namun transmisinya bisa terjadi kepada petugas. Dan di sini petugas harus benar-benar menggunakan APD yang lengkap dan bagaimana resiko tertularnya mau COVID-19 itu tidak terjadi. Nah, ini adalah timing of tracheostomy and sugary or PDT. Tracheostomy and COVID-19 patient. Nah, teman-teman semua di sini kita bisa lihat menurut Medgat tahun 2020 ini mungkin ada kurva yang kita lihat dari misalkan dari kurva ini adalah pasien di mana mulai terjadinya gejala, ada infeksi mungkin yang masuk, viral exposure, kemudian terdeteksi, di sini timbul gejala. Nah, di hari ketiga dan antara ke hari ketiga ke 4 itu pasien mulai masuk ke rumah sakit karena ada gejalanya tadi. Kemudian pasien akan 16 sampai 20% nih. Kemudian di hari ke-5 sampai ke 16 itu 5 sampai 12% mungkin kalau ada komorbidnya itu dan pernapasannya jelek itu dilakukan intubasi. Kemudian di hari ICU day 1 sampai 1 hari ke-14 itu pasien dilakukan intubasi dan cenderung akan prolong ventilator. Nah, di sini di ICU ini, nah di ICU hari ke-14 sampai 21 ini yang disarankan dilakukan tindakan tracheostomy sampai 28 hari. Kenapa? Karena pada kalau dilakukan 1 sampai 14 hari biasanya memang pasien belum mengalami perbaikan dari segi fototorak ataupun dari penggunaan ventilator yang belum bisa diweaning. Nah, di hari 14 sampai 21 itu bisa pelan-pelan diweaning walaupun nanti akan si pasien ini akan prolong ventilator. Nah, inilah timing waktu dilakukannya tindakan tracheostomy, ya. Ini terjadi keparahannya, kemudian terjadi mulai dari infeksi, kemudian terdeteksi gitu ya. Next, ini adalah tracheostomy for COVID-19. Ini adalah langkah-langkah manajemen pada tindakan tracheostomy ya, untuk keamanannya, protokolnya. Mungkin yang pertama di karakteristiknya adalah penggunaan APD. Di penggunaan APD ini kita bandingkan dengan Medscope fase 1 dan fase 2 gitu ya. Dan kita bandingkan dengan pada COVID-19 ini terjadi ada beberapa perbedaan. Misalkan dari APD pada Medscope 1 mungkin standar handshoe-nya hanya bedah, gaun bedah, face shield, masker N95. Di Medscope 2 mungkin ada tambahan N95, handscoon, pakaian, pelindung kepala gitu. Nah, kita di pasien COVID-19 ini lebih lengkap lagi, ada tambahan 2 pasang handscoon, pakaian sugary, kemudian pelindung kepala, pelindung sepatu, masker N95. Ini tambahannya. Kemudian dari surgical setting, to aerosolation and time. Ini di MERS 1 masih menggunakan ICU isolasi, di ICU di fase Medscope tahap 2 itu harus menggunakan tekanan negatif. Di ICU COVID, negatif pressure harus, kemudian white skin incision, dan yang lainnya. Ini banyak sekali, termasuk stafnya juga. Tipe surgery timnya ini ada dari tidak pada COVID ini diharapkan pada saat tindakan semua yang tidak terlibat ataupun yang tidak ada fungsinya diharapkan tidak ada di daerah pemasang atau di daerah pasien. Kalau di COVID itu harus ada dokter bedah, dokter spesialis ICU, dan mungkin perawat satu orang gitu ya. Nah, di Indonesia memang saat ini yang kita lakukan itu tindakan tracheostomy dilakukan oleh berbeda-beda. Ada yang dilakukan oleh spesialis THT, bedah onkologi, dan bahkan dan sekarang kalau di ICU dilakukan oleh konsultan intensive care. Nah, kami di
Excuse
Indonesia.
me, Mr. Ibrukmana, your time left is another 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. Thank you. Manajemen kanul, Portek, yang terpenting adalah ini nih, isolasi pasien, isolasi petugas, di mana petugas harus 14 hari istirahat, kemudian dicek CPR-nya sesuai kebijakan WHO ataupun Permenkes di kita seminggu sampai 2 minggu gitu ya. Diisolasi kalau memang terjadi positif harus isolasi, istirahat, kalau mau bekerja lagi harus di PCR lagi positif, kalau negatif silahkan bekerja. Surgical tracheostomy, type of tracheostomy 2, 1 surgical tracheostomy, 2 VDT, percutaneous dilatation tracheostomy. Next, type of tracheostomy surgical, ini adalah gambaran bagaimana operasi tracheostomy pada COVID di ruang kamar operasi dan dilakukan secara surgery ya. Gambaran saja ini tipe of tracheostomy yang dilakukan dengan surgical. Nah, ini semuanya dipersiapkan dengan baik tentunya, mulai dari persiapan umum sampai ke alat-alatnya. Yang kita bahas yang sekarang adalah percutaneous dilatation. Percutaneous dilatation ini sebuah tindakan yang bagaimana ada perbedaan pada saat pemasangan. Pada pemasangan perkutan mungkin pada pasien COVID tidak dilakukan dulu dengan tindakan penggantian ETT yang lebih kecil, kemudian diklaim, kemudian ventilator nanti mungkin bisa dimatikan sebentar dan dinyalakan kembali. Ini untuk tindakan tracheostomy, bagaimana prosedurnya untuk dilakukannya ya. Kita lanjut saja ya, mungkin waktunya nggak ini. Manajemen tracheostomy for COVID. Prinsipnya semua dilakukan untuk keamanan pasien, semua harus dilakukan. Tetapi yang pertama lagi adalah tindakan ini adalah menggunakan tindakan yang menyebabkan aerosol. Jadi harus menggunakan APD lengkap dan yang lainnya. Jangan sampai tidak menggunakan APD. Kemudian untuk stafnya tadi sudah sampaikan hanya 4 orang saja yang berada di dalam. Kemudian kalau ada tindakan kegawatan, itu satu staf atau satu perawat ataupun dokter itu sudah siap menggunakan APD, dan jika terjadi kegawatan ataupun tindakan yang emergensi, si perawat ataupun dokter yang lainnya bisa masuk ke dalam gitu ya. Kemudian untuk manajemen yang ketiga adalah frekuensi untuk penggantian kanul. Penggantian kanul itu dibatasin, tidak sesering pada pasien bukan COVID. Kalau pasien COVID, penggantian kanul dibatasin. Kalau tidak perlu jangan dibuka gitu. Kemudian untuk kelembabannya disarankan untuk menggunakan bakteri filter HME. Jadi tidak menggunakan untuk humidification-nya gitu. Kemudian yang kelima, untuk tetap dilakukan pengaturan jalan napas atas itu harus tetap dilakukan, namun harus tetap hati-hati oleh perawatnya, dan si pasien tentunya menggunakan APD lengkap dan pasiennya menggunakan masker agar aerosolnya tidak terjadi kepada kita gitu. Ini manajemennya mungkin bisa di basic principle, kemudian cup manajemennya bagaimana jangan sampai terjadi tidak terjadi kebocoran sehingga menyebabkan airborne gitu. Kemudian humidifikasinya, sectionnya, teknik section menggunakan close section, kemudian inner canal dibatasi untuk cara penggunaannya, kemudian cup depletion tetap dilakukan setelah 24 jam dengan cara tadi tetap dilakukan si pasiennya menggunakan masker misalkan. Kemudian one way valve, jadi menggunakan valve single gitu ya. Dan diusahakan lagi. Nah ini ada beberapa komen
Mr.
dari.
Aib, your time is up now.
Oke, one minute, oke. Ini adalah beberapa komen tentang tindakan tracheostomy, manajemen tracheostomy. Intinya sama seperti yang tadi saya sampaikan, bahwa tindakan tracheostomy dari mulai basic dasar sampai manajemen, suction, inner canal, kemudian valve satu jalur gitu ya, itu dipertahankan gitu ya. Oke, kesimpulan atau conclusion, tracheostomy represent high risk equipped due to constant exposure to droplet and aerosol leak, given infection with of SARS-CoV-2 during the surgical procedure. Full PPE is mandatory, and the creation of a COVID-19 airborne team in Asia collection about indication, clinical outcome, and safety for healthcare. Provider of tracheostomy performance in the setting of SARS-CoV-2 outbreak will have bring more robust advanced recommendation. The rule of tracheostomy during the COVID-19 pandemic remains to be determined. Tracheostomy is a regeneration procedure, and healthcare workers must protect themselves with strict airborne precaution, information, direction, guideline, and standard area get continue to emergency. Thank you. I'm sorry. I think it's a no for my presentation. Is the question for some advice. Thank you, Mr. Ms. Dias. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Aib Rukmana, for your explanation. Let me give some key points from the slide, Mr. Aib. That is, as we know that tracheostomy represent of the high risk of aerosol generating procedure. So, especially during COVID-19, remains we have to be very determined because we have to make sure that the team and standard operational procedure was very determined. And for the healthcare workers, must be protect themselves with a strict airborne precaution. I think that's all. And now let's move to the next speaker. Is Dr. Lindy Tan from Singapore. She's going to talk about advanced practice nurse in Singapore General Hospital. And let me to read the Dr. Lindy CV. She took the Master of Degree from the University of California, San Francisco, and doctorate at the Duke University. And working experience is as an advanced practice nurse at the ICU Singapore General Hospital, and also nursing lead for the Code Blue Committee and interprofessional Code Blue simulations training in Singapore General Hospital, and also the member of the Medical Rapid Response Team. and now she was busy involved in research, education, and quality improvement project related to ventilator-associated pneumonia bundles, ICU care, and nutrition and crisis management simulation for nurses. Dr. Lindy Tan today talk about and now and how when we can do the tracheostomy during COVID-19. You have time 20 minutes, Dr. Lindy, and then time is yours now.
Thank you so much. Let me just share the screen. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank the organizer for the invitation. Look, I have nothing to declare. Worldwide, there are 36 million infected cases. Out of that, 25 have recovered, and we have more than 1 million deaths. In Asia, we have more than 8 million infected cases, and out of that, 7 million has recovered. In Singapore, we have 57,000 infected cases. Majority have actually recovered. A look at the graph in the US, you see for the past 1 week, there are more new cases than recovered cases for the COVID-19. A look at Asia, you can see that Philippines, Japan, Singapore, we have more recovered cases. But for Indonesia and Malaysia, which is my neighboring countries, they have more infected cases for the past week. A look at the data from Kaiser Healthcare Group in California and Washington, you can see that the probability of ICU admission is more than 40%, and probability of death is more than 19%. From here, you can see that patients, for those non-survivor, they stayed for more than almost 34 days in the hospital. They do have prolonged duration of hospital stays, and this caused substantial healthcare burden. Tracheostomy is a common procedure in ICU. It helps to wean the patient from mechanical ventilation. Research and clinical experience shows that it does reduce sedation, length of stay in the ICU, days on mechanical ventilation. Most are performed at 10 or 14 days. There are some studies that compare early tracheostomy versus late tracheostomy, which is for 10 to 14 days. There's actually no difference in the mortality and the outcomes. For subgroup of patients like traumatic brain injury, trauma, neurological conditions such as myasthenia gravis, these do have early, because you know that clinical cause, they will stay a long time because of muscle weakness. They will need a tracheostomy early. Tracheostomy, as a previous speaker have shared, is an aerosol generating procedures with the risk of infection during insertion and the care. In 2003, during SARS, they found increased risk of infection during tracheal intubation, tracheostomy, and non-invasive ventilation, as well as when you're doing the back and mask. In fact, early guidelines advise avoiding or delaying because of the risk to the healthcare staff. And the earlier part in the disease, people are unclear what is the outcome for patients with COVID-19. What are the case or indication for COVID-19? When the COVID-19 pandemic spread to Italy, New York, and Spain, ICUs had a massive influx of patients who are critically ill. They took up the essential beds, ICU beds are scarce community in the hospital. So we do have a lot of ICU patients because they are very sick with ARDS, respiratory distress. We put them on high sedations, heavily sedated, and paralysis to improve the oxygenation. And this will lead to prolonged mechanical ventilations. Furthermore, they do have copious thick secretions, and they have weak and poor cough. This also contributed to the long mechanical ventilation. And for COVID-19, when you have an extubation, some of the patients actually deteriorate very fast. They could be, when you extubate within a a time of about 6 to 8 hours, you may need to actually re-intubate patients. And during intubation, there's a high risk because of re-intubation. In 2003 SARS, those in Toronto, those staff, healthcare workers, they had on PPE, they had on facials, but because of the emergent procedures, they are infected despite all the protection. So we want to minimize all this with tracheostomy. So potentially, we also can increase the availability of the ICU beds. A patient will require less sedations, and you are able to start weaning faster. As previous speakers have shown, there is a window where the guidelines from the European side recommend the window where they recommend the tracheostomy to be done. That is at the window of 14 to 21 days. Okay. On the clinical course of the COVID patients, in the early part, they do have a high viral load. As the days in about 10 to 14 days, you can see the viral load actually decrease. So this point, when you have less viral load and where you know that the patients will need prolonged ventilation, that's the window for considering of tracheostomy. Some of the considerations when you decide to perform the tracheostomy for patients will be patient factors. Is there a laryngeal injury? Is there trauma? Is there dysfunction early? Because prolonged ATT intubation can lead to laryngeal injury and dysfunction, vocal cords dysfunction. And it can also lead to ventilator-associated pneumonia. You could have paralysis, muscle atrophy. In fact, our COVID patient, our first COVID patient in SGH, he stayed for 30 days in ICU, and he stayed another 30 days in hospital for rehab. So every day that you expose the patient on a ventilator, your muscle actually atrophy more than 10%. You get muscle weakness. There is some technical approach that you need to think of, the percutaneous, open surgical, or a hybrid. Okay, you need to consider the resources, whether you have the manpower, the expertise. Is it going to be done by surgeon or is it going to be done by intensivist? I think the previous speakers has actually shared a lot on it. Okay, it should be a multidisciplinary approach. Okay, decision making by the ICU team, the PAL team, because COVID patients might not make it because as you can see, the survivor and the non-survivor, usually the non-survivor are those that stay very long in the ICU. So PAL team might have to be involved for the psychosocial support. And the IT team and the airway team, just in case you have an emergency, you might need the airway team to come in to help. And what are the goals of care for the patient? There's also consideration on the workflow, how to optimize patient and staff. Okay, this is the guideline from the European. Okay, they have listed out many things. Essentially, you need to consider the risks and benefits to the patient and the family. If patient was on a tracheostomy, if they are unable to wean off from ventilator, family, are they able to take care of the patient? Are they able to do home care? How are you going to refer to the resources? And the healthcare workers, the risk to the healthcare workers, you want to perform the procedure at a time frame where it's safe for everyone. And whether you have the resources, the facility, do you have a negative pressure room? If you don't have a negative pressure room, where are you going to have it done? Is it going to be done in the operating theater, or is it going to be done in a single room where you will restrict the entry to the room during the procedure? Do you have any, is it going to be done by the surgeons or the intensivists? Who are going to be the care team? And the timing, at least 10 days for mechanical intubation. So that's the period where you can judge or you can assess whether the patient can be weaned off or you need to have prolonged ventilation. And whether patient's hemodynamic are stable, okay? Are they able to tolerate the procedure? And it should be done under protected with the PPE and the PAPR. And you should delay changing once you have the tracheostomy tube in, and maybe use the HME for providing the humidification. Preparation is important, as I shared the clinical setting. So we want to avoid, it's preferably done in the ICU to avoid transportation of patient and exposing more people to the COVID-19. If unavailable, rooms should be equipped with HEPA filters and should have a straight door policy. You need to protect your staff. Simulation and pre-procedure briefing is important. You get everybody in line, aligned with the steps and the process, so that less unexpected, unplanned things will happen. So for the pre-procedure equipment, the medications, you will need to deep sedate the patient paralyzed so that you minimize the cough and agitation during the procedure. Apnea trial, you need to try it, see whether patient can tolerate the discontinue the ventilator during the procedure. So what you will do is you will increase the FiO2, the oxygen to 100%. You discontinue the PEEP for at least 30 seconds to a minute. See whether the patient can tolerate. Then preferably a bronchoscopic guidance, and you should limit the number of people in the room. Okay, this is what we do in our hospital. We have training briefing on the protected procedure and patient care. In the early part, we use the yellow gown as recommended. But we realized that with the yellow gown, you do have exposure to the healthcare workers. And when you put on the PAPR, there's some problems with communication because with the air blowing, you can't hear. So we actually developed some sign language. Okay, so before entering room, these are some of the things that they need to adhere to for all the staff, and all the equipment and consumables should be outside of the room. We should not take inside the room; it will be contaminated. Okay, loss simulation. So this is what we do now. We use the surgeon gowns that will provide a complete cover of the healthcare workers' uniform. And this is the ICU mock-up where we do simulation. This is done in NCID where you have simulation on ECMO insertion. This is done where we had the first patient straight away. We do code blue simulations. We want to prepare our staff. You can see that there's a lot of exposure. During all the simulations, we can actually inform us what are the latent issues in our system, how we need to actually modify the process. So that's what we changed to. We changed to the blue surgeon gown. Okay. We also tried using a shield, the plastic shield, how to prevent exposure. These are all done in patients without COVID. We test it out and see whether is it good to use before we do it on a COVID patient. So we want to be trained. So during the procedure, it's very hard to actually communicate. This is what we do dry runs on patients without COVID first, and we've ironed out all the
Hello, Dr. Liddy. Do you have any trouble there?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do you have any trouble there?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Dr. Lindy, are you there?
So, Miss Sochi, can we? I think there is some issue with Dr. Lindy. I think
Okay.
in best interest of time, let's move to the next speaker. Yeah. Later on, when she joins, we will give her time to continue and complete a PPT. Yeah.
All right, so I continue with the next speaker.
Oh, I think she's back. She's back. I think
she's back. That's
She's
good.
back. Yeah.
Hi,
Okay, Mr. Linda, you all right?
I'm sorry.
Your time now. You can continue your presentation now.
I might need you to actually
Mr. Lindy?
do the slide
Yeah.
because
You can continue your presentation now.
I'm actually through the handphone. I can't actually do my slides. Can you give me 2 minutes? Let me just reconnect myself in. So sorry. Please just give me a moment. Sure. Just give me a moment. I will try to reconnect back.
Dr. Lindy, I have your slides handy. In case you are unable to log in, I can put it off.
Okay, I am connecting back. Just give me a moment.
Okay, sure, please, no problem. In case it doesn't work, it's working. Fair enough.
My apologies. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my apology for all. Okay. Where were I? Okay, for emergency, we will only perform bagging or open suction in an emergency, and you should clamp the tube if possible. We do have filter.
Request you to put it in the presentation mode, please.
Okay. So sorry. My apology. Okay. So in an emergency, we only perform bagging open suction in an emergency. And we do have the ventilator and the clamps so that we want to prevent aerosol to staff. So during a procedure, we will to 0.9 to or 100%. We will use HEPA filter. This is to minimize the aerosol to the staff, and we want to minimize ventilator circuit disconnection. We will clamp the ETT if required, so that we want to reduce the exposure to staff, and we will have apnea or flow interruption after the tracheal insertion. Okay. These are some of the key points from the guidelines. Where when the bronchoscopy adapter is attached to the circuit, we will actually insert the bronch into the ETT. If you could, you will insert and make sure that during the procedure you have gauze, sponge, or gut wire placed, and you will put patient on apnea when you need to open up the airway. Okay, so from the American College of Chairs, these are some of the guidelines that they have recommended for tracheostomy during the insertion and the care. is similar to the European guideline. I won't go into it because it's similar. So, okay, post-procedure care, you should use a cuff non-fenestrated tube. This is to limit the exposure to healthcare worker. Cuff should be inflated and maintained at 20 to 30 cm water. HME is recommended rather than water bath. This is to prevent aerosol generation. And you should use a closed or inline suction. Delay the changing of the tracheostomy tube if possible until patients are considered non-infectious. That is around 21 or 30 days for some patients. Avoid unnecessary airway intervention. Example would be like changing of the circuit, nebulization. So for nebulization, we recommend to use the use of MDI. Okay, it's like the orange port where you will use the MDI port if need to give any medication. So take home point, tracheostomy can be considered for patients with COVID-19 when prolonged mechanical ventilation is anticipated. It should be a multidisciplinary approach. You should involve the ICU.
Excuse me, Dr. Lindy, your time is 5 minutes left.
Almost done. Okay, it should be a multidisciplinary approach where you involve the nurse, the RT, the doctors, the intensivist, the PEL team as well, because patient will need a long stay in ICU and you need a lot of rehab. You should involve the physiotherapists as well. The pre-procedure preparation and training are essential. This is to minimize the risk of infection. So we do dry runs. And make sure that you have appropriate PPE. You have PAPR. With the PAPR, it's not possible to communicate well. So we do need to have briefing beforehand, and you might have to use sign language during the procedure. You should have a closed circuit with inline suction to prevent aerosol, and delay and avoid unnecessary airway procedures if possible. With that, thank you. So sorry for the interruptions. Thank you. I'll pass to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lindy, for your been sharing with us about your experience in the Singapore hospital. Okay, now welcome to. I would like to say that welcome to our new participants, and please stay with us until the end of this webinar. Now we have more than 700 participants join this live webinar. And for your information, we already in the middle of this webinar. Okay, now people, we're going to continue. The next speaker, our next speaker, I would like to invite Nurse Tri Astuti from Indonesia. In her daily life, she works at the Gatot Subroto Army Hospital in Jakarta, and education, she was graduated from the university, Indonesia University for the nursing 2006, and working experience as the education head of our ICU of the Army Hospital Gatot Subroto 2007 until now. And he's also the lecturer of the Academy of Nursing Gatot Subroto Hospital. And she also had the professional experience as the speaker on ICU training for Army Hospital Gatot Subroto and speaker for the cannula management on tracheostomy 2019. So to Nurse Tri Astuti, you have time 20 minutes and I will notify you when the time is 5 minutes left. Time is yours. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you for the time given to me to share the knowledge I have gained from my profession so far. I'm nurse from Hospital RSPAD. I'm Dati in ICU. The material I will bring about canal tristomy nursing care. Sorry, because in English I'm not very fluent in, and I can mix Indonesian. Okay. ICU mempunyai fungsi penting dalam menurunkan angka infeksi, morbidity, mortality, and loss. Nah, prosedur yang sering dilakukan di unit perawatan intensif adalah tristomy. Di rumah sakit saya, tristomy sering dilakukan. Nah, yang sering dilakukan adalah tristomy dengan sistem tristomy dilatation perkutan atau dinamakan TDP. Karena tindakan yang lebih sederhana dan lebih cepat dan memiliki komplikasi yang lebih rendah dengan tristomy dilatation. Nurse must provide proper care to tristomy patient to prevent complication. The limitation that I will discuss is about a glimpse of the tristomy and the introduction, the canal tristomy, and I will discuss the canal tristomy nursing care management. What is tristomy? Tristomy adalah tindakan operatif membentuk lubang pada dinding depan trachea dan pipa kanul dimasukkan ke dalam lubang yang memungkinkan udara masuk dan sekret mudah dikeluarkan. Tristomy juga adalah prosedur di mana dibuat lubang ke dalam trachea ketika selang indwelling dimasukkan ke dalam trachea. Maka istilah tersebut dinamakan tristomy. Tristomy sudah ada sejak 5.000 tahun yang lalu dan tahun 1909 Clever Jackson mengatakan sudah dilakukan modern surgical tristomy. Nah, tahun 1955 Sheldon et al. Report tristomy, teknik tristomy sudah dilakukan dengan tindakan TDP yang dikenal dengan menggunakan wire gate dilatation forceps dengan tindakan sel dingin. Indication tristomy. Indication tristomy four categories of tristomy indication. Mechanical ventilation required long term 7 day. Airway obstruction, airway protection, and management secretion. Di sini kemampuan mengeluarkan sekret juga terganggu. Nah, di sini tujuan dari tristomy adalah pembersihan bronchos trachea lebih baik. Kemudian mekanisme dan kerja pernapasan lebih baik, mobilitas bicara, perasaan nyaman, psikologis dengan baik, penggunaan obat analgetik sedatif berkurang sehingga pasien winning cepat dilakukan dan length of stay-nya di ICU berkurang, pembiayaan cost ya berkurang, flow pasien ICU cepat pindah. Nah, saya akan mengenalkan beberapa bagian dari tracheal canal. Tracheal canal is a tool or small tube inserted into the trachea. part of the tracheus canal. This one, outer canal. These two, inner canal. These three, cuff. These four, pilot balance. This flank or neck. This 5, this 6, intradasar. 7, fenestration atau jendela. And 8, adaptor. Nah, di sini ada beberapa pabrikan yang berbeda, tapi sama-sama mempunyai kesamaan dari produk Ortek dan Trahu. Yang di sini ada yang produk dari logam. Ini sejak dulu yang dipakai tracheostomy surgical, tapi yang sekarang sudah dipakai adalah yang produk 2 ini. Nah, bagaimana merawat pasien dengan kanul tracheostomy? Kita namakan di sini ada 7 langkah perawatan tracheostomy. Ya, di sini kita punya di ISURSPAD mempunyai tim tracheostomy. Nah, kita mempunyai SOP atau standar operation procedure, mempunyai standar prosedur, ada 7 langkah untuk perawatan tracheostomy. Yaitu yang pertama adalah perawatan kanul dan balon, yang kedua suctioning, yang ketiga perawatan luka stoma, nah keempat perawatan tali kanul, dan kelima latihan bicara dan napas. Keenam, kontrol setiap bulan, dan kemudian edukasi. Saya akan bahas satu persatu dari manajemen kanul tracheostomy ini. Tujuan dari manajemen tracheostomy ini adalah yang pertama untuk mencegah sumbatan pipa tracheostomy, yaitu adanya plak ya. Terus kemudian untuk mencegah infeksi. Yang kemudian meningkatkan fungsi pernapasan, ventilation or oxygenation. Bronchial toilet, mencegah pipa plak. Nah, langkah yang pertama yang saya akan jelaskan adalah perawatan inner canal, ya, di mana tadi saya jelaskan bagian-bagian daripada tracheus canal ada inner canal. Nah, inner canal ini penting untuk diperhatikan perbersihannya, karena dengan inner canal kita dapat mengontrol plak yang ada di jalan di tracheus canal. Ini dilakukan setiap 8 jam atau per shift, atau lebih sering jika kotor karena produk slime yang kental dan banyak. Nah, ini bisa kita lakukan setiap 8 jam, 6 jam, 4 jam, atau 2 jam sekali, atau lebih sering karena dilihat dari setiap pasien berbeda produksi sekretnya. Jadi kita harus perhatikan, penting untuk dilihat, dievaluasi terus-menerus inner canal. Kemudian kanul balon. Nah, kanul balon ini dikempeskan terus-menerus jika pasien tidak menggunakan ventilator. Jika pasien dengan ventilator dijaga isi balon itu atau pressure-nya dijaga 15 sampai 20 atau sampai tidak ada kebocoran udara. Nah, setelah dipasang inner canal, kita harus overcome atau information to include in handover.